HD version of the original, which is great. That's exactly
more or
what I would
less.
want. It's like, yeah, they showed like a side by side comparison. It's like, yeah, that's 3DS there, and that's Switch right there. That's awesome. Excited about it. Should be fun, especially if it's like a new story and stuff. And it also even has like what the original Fantasy Life had. It, apparently, from what they described, like after you beat the main story, there's more you can do. Raise your levels more and craft more. There's like there's actually a whole DLC on the original that lets you get to a whole new level of stuff. Actually, there's even more story, but.
Well, apparently one of the reasons they were building this and planning it to come out is because they knew ahead of time when the eShop service was coming down. So they wanted to make sure people could still play the game. And what better to do than expanding the original game? I mean, you could still play single player, but like you can't play multiplayer if the eShop goes down.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. So you're saying basically it's the reason why it's so similar to the original is it's like, okay, we're going to let you continue to play the original, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Another upgraded version of it. Yeah, that's good. But I think this was originally, unless it's completely different, I know there was a mobile, like iOS and Android version of a Fantasy Life 2 game that only came out in Japan. So I don't know if this is an upgraded version of that or just completely different. I don't.
So I think it's kind of an upgraded version of both in a way. What Level 5, the studio that makes it, has been talking about is that they want to be putting in a new console entry without the live service problems previous Fantasy Life Online had, including all the features of the series. So instead of having like the issue that like the mobile game had, or to even be able to play multiplayer on the 3DS, you obviously require the eShop. They're just going to have a version of the game that you could play, new stuff, all the features of the old games, but without the live service issues.
Okay. Yeah. But you can still play with other people, I think.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's a bummer that and all these people I saw are like guessing that they're timing it to be a launch title for the Switch 2. Like, because they're very there's very little evidence of that, but just the fact that they said we're releasing it summer, we know the exact date, but we're not going to say for strategic reasons. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. That might have been
I don't either.
Japanese mistranslation because he was speaking in Japanese, or a misunderstanding. But a lot of people are saying, wait, do they mean it's going to be a launch title, and so they don't want to give away that date? I don't know.
Listen, I'm not saying that a Switch 2 won't be coming in the summer. What I am saying, though, is that people are really demanding the Switch 2 and reaching for straws to try to believe that it's coming out.
Yeah. I hear you. Of course, Nintendo denied all of the leaks and rumors and everything, but they always do that.
Every claim.
Yeah.
Since the dawn of man.
Yeah.
You have to, though. You really... If you're a business their size, you have to deny every leak and rumor, even if it's true.
Yeah.
Because think about it, right? If people knew the Switch 2 was coming, the Switch sales would just plummet, right? And they're still selling well. As we found out recently, we already thought that at this point in the life cycle, their sales would dwindle, but they're still selling pretty well.
Yeah. I think sales went up in a recent month or something.
We previously thought that they weren't even going to come close to approaching the DS. We thought they were going to be somewhere around like 20 to 30 million shy of it, but they're approaching it like full steam at this point.
Yeah. Could happen. I mean, I think you're right. As soon as the new one's announced, the sales are going to drop off a cliff. So they're just riding it out as long as they can.
And they're probably telling everybody else, too, that if it is coming, don't even hint that it's coming, because we don't want you affecting the sales of the console.
Yeah.
Or we'll
Yeah,
ban
that's
you from
why
our
I'm
eShop.
wondering. Yeah, that's why it does. You know, it's an interesting theory. It's that's why it's plausible that the reason they're not announcing the release date of Fantasy Life I or whatever is because it's the same as the release date of the Switch 2. But
I mean, yeah, it's
just a
possible,
guess.
but it's equally a reach as it is possible.
yeah,
And,
Well,
and I think
you know,
the reason is because
50-50.
yeah, maybe.
Depends
The
on-
reason I say it's equally a reach is because the thing that makes it seem more possible are all these other reaches that people are making. But just because you're reaching for the same point on your back from different angles doesn't mean the different angles are going to help the other ones get closer.
Yeah, I guess. So yeah,
You know.
interesting analogy.
Hey, Fitzjoso, let me say hi to Timothy, who's here in the chat, and also earlier on, this Legendary 37 over on Kick. How you guys doing?
Are we not getting the? Oh, there it is. Yo, hey, that's awesome. I missed that in the chat, but we're getting it through the Restream bot. Cool.
Oh yeah, we were before.
Yeah, I know. I've just never seen anybody on Kick yet until now. So, welcome. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. I figured that was
Welcome.
because there's not much to talk about with Fantasy Life I figured it'd be a nice little cold open before we get into anything else. Some crazy shit is going on in games. And I mean, like, really crazy. Because I normally don't give a fuck about Fortnite. I don't know if you feel the same way as I do, right? But it
Has
is a
anything interesting
massive,
happened?
massive game that you can't not pay attention to when they do weird things. So apparently, Fortnite is beginning its expansion outside of just being Fortnite, right? And they're like adding these permanent experiences inside the game. So I guess you can play them from the launcher or whatever. But they're adding a Lego Fortnite to it, kind of like how you have like those Lego Marvel superheroes and stuff like that. They're also getting an arcade racer like Mario Kart in Fortnite, and they're getting a Rock Band style game in Fortnite as well. I'm just like, why? But I guess they're just trying to outcompete Minecraft, right? I think they see Minecraft as their biggest competition. And in Minecraft, similar to like Roblox, if you have a good enough creator who knows how to use like the realms and everything to their advantage, then you can do almost anything in Minecraft. So this is probably what they're trying to do here.
So are these different modes? Because last time I played Fortnite, which was years ago, it was Battle Royale.
Yeah. No, these are going to be like different features. Like I think you would just access them from the login screen or like the client screen or whatever before going into it.
Okay. So you don't like do a Battle Royale and there's a Mario Kart track.
I don't think so. Though you could easily do a Mario Kart Battle Royale. Like that would totally work.
Yeah.
You just keep doing laps until you're the only one left, I guess, but knocking people off.
Although would you still have the storm coming in from the sides until making the track smaller and smaller or something?
Instead of the storm coming in, the track just constricts itself and gets tighter and tighter over time. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to guarantee that people eventually fall off or whatever.
Yeah. Red shells or whatever.
Silly.
Battle mode.
Cool.
This actually upset me in Mario Kart 8, which I know they fixed in Deluxe, and they kind of sort of eventually fixed it in the original version too. But when Mario Kart 8 first launched, it did not have a proper battle mode like all of the previous Mario Karts did. It kind of did, but they were kind of just like looped tracks that you went around and you fired at each other. They didn't have like actual battle arenas or anything, and they eventually added that. And I'm glad, but how can you have a Mario Kart game without battle mode? Like, I know it's not the biggest feature of it, But honestly, that's the thing that kind of makes Mario Kart different than most other arcade racers, is that it has a battle mode.
Did it have that in like the original ones? don't
I know it
remember.
did as early as 64. I don't remember if it did in Super Mario Kart or whatever, but
Yeah. Yeah. So, but they added it eventually.
yeah. Basically on popular demand because their original balloon battle
Yeah.
kind of fucking sucked.
Well, that's cool.
Well, in topic, Fizz asks, how good is the character creator in Roblox? I want to play a cyborg overlord who makes death dungeons. I mean, you could probably do something like that. I wouldn't say it's tremendous from what I've seen, but you can get kind of crazy. And if you are a developer yourself, you can make your own customizations. Pretty much without restriction. There are actual rules and restrictions. Like, you're not supposed to just slap a cock on your shirt, but it'll stay there until somebody reports it, right? That's the real thing.
Yeah.
So if you're just barely skirting the line on something, you could probably be fine because somebody probably just won't report it. Just don't be slapping a big unpixelized cock on your shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at, if you just Google, Roblox, or if you just go to the Roblox website, it shows characters that look like Samus Aran. There's some that look like kind of like Lego characters. I mean, they're not like photorealistic, Unity, or not Unity, Unreal Engine 5, human beings. They're kind of Lego looking characters or Minecraft looking.
Yeah, well, that's the main one. Kind of looks somewhat between a Lego and a Minecraft character. That's the old school. The newer ones, though, they look like, do you remember those, like, they were trying to sell Lego specifically to girls, like, a few years ago, and they just did not have the normal minifig body? That's kind of what, like, the newer bodies look like. So they still somewhat put in that line. I know Roblox originally, actually, this was predating Minecraft. They were trying to be a Lego game, but they just did not have the rights to Lego, so they just made their own thing, and that's why a lot of the stuff and even the assets look like it clicks together like Lego pieces do.
Yeah. But, I'll tell you, there's a zillion and one gameplay videos out there, so if you really want to look into Roblox, you're going to find a wealth of content on YouTube or Twitch.
Yeah, Roblox actually has a really cool monetization model that is very similar to a lot of the different monetization models like Steam and stuff, where if you are a developer and people spend money on your game, you get a cut. Like, pretty much the same rate that Steam would get you for people buying your game or doing microtransactions on it. But also, if you're an asset designer and people use your assets, you get a cut too. So if you make a game entirely with your own assets, you can make up to, like, I think 70%, right? So Roblox is taking that like 30. But if you're only designing the games and people play it, but you're also using other people's assets, part of that cut ends up going to the other people. So everybody who works on it ends up making money. Sure, you get paid in those, I think they're called Robux or whatever. But if you are part of the creator program, if you're like a certain tier creator, you can literally just exchange that out for dollars, and Roblox ends up paying you like any creator would get paid. So it's a pretty good business model. It's a great way for people who want to like get into game design, but they don't want to make like a heavy commitment to learning this or that engine, can get started in Roblox. And actually possibly make money off of the parents of little kids who enjoy whatever you make. Actually, if you think about it that way, do you have a higher chance of kids playing your game if you make it in Roblox than you do just launching a game you actually made from scratch on Steam?
Yeah, probably. I'm watching, I just ran across a video of somebody made a house that builds itself in Minecraft. This is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. They use pistons pistons to here. I gotta show you this. This is crazy. Never seen anything like this. I like how much time must it take to build this shit?
Why doesn't Lego
That's
make their
insane.
own Roblox? Fizchozo asks. They tried, actually. I can't remember the name of it. Here, let me get the source set up for this.
You know, while we're talking about this.
Yeah, no, Lego did try. I think it was, what was the name of it? It was like Lego Sandbox or something, Lego Universe. I can't remember the... No, that's not the right one. Where is the...
Oh.
I'm trying to find the actual Discord video.
Oh,
There we go.
I mean, it looks all right.
Yeah, it's cropping part of it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
Let's shrink it in.
Well, the beginning is a little slow, and then it speeds up, and it shows it actually building now. So I don't know what the... I guess it's showing all the detail of how it, like, it puts the pieces of the house on this platform, and then it pulls it, and then it raises it up,
Yeah.
and then it puts the next layer, and it raises that up, and
Might
it
have
just
been
builds
called
it
Lego
layer by
Bricks.
layer.
Yes, I think Joshua might be right. But yeah, they tried doing something like
Hey,
that.
Joshua.
It wasn't to compete against Roblox. They were trying to compete against Minecraft specifically. And in that regard, they did a good job, but they didn't market it very well. It wasn't
Mhm.
widely accessible. So, like, there were more adults playing it than kids. It was competing against Minecraft, which was already popular and out there. And it didn't really have, like, from what I remember, the server functions or anything. So they tried it. They just
Yeah.
did a really piss poor job of trying it.
Well, but can you make self-building houses in Roblox? That's the
Probably.
question. I imagine it takes itself apart as well. Yeah, so I wonder. We were talking about Fortnite before, and
We
you're
were.
saying there's a Guitar Hero,
Yeah, like a rock band
Also,
type thing. Yeah.
a
Rhythm
rock
game.
band. Like, do you need the guitar or the
No.
the instruments?
I guarantee you don't. I mean,
don't?
one, you could play Guitar Hero with a keyboard if you wanted, or there's a
Yeah.
modded version that people play too. I can't remember the name of it, of Guitar Hero. That's what most of the speedrunners do, right? And they'll go get like a Guitar Hero controller with a USB port for their computer.
Hmm.
But there is a version of it that people made where you can play with a keyboard. But you got to think it's Fortnite, right? So they want you to be able
Yeah.
to do everything on your phone. So clearly you're going to be able to do your things by tapping your phone screen.
Hmm. Look at this device. It's unbelievable. Look how big it is. They had
That
to.
is very complicated.
That is insane.
You know what this reminds me
I mean,
of?
they had what?
You ever see that movie 13 Ghosts?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, with like the
Yeah,
house as a
it does.
contraption that's like moving and everything.
yeah.
Or Cabin in the Woods, right? The underground like base that has all the monsters in
yeah.
it and the things are moving around. That's the type of stuff this is reminding me of. This is like a horror movie contraption right here.
Yeah, right. I mean, wait, how do I pause? Yeah, I think it's crazy. All right, enough of that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Stop streaming. Well, just coincidentally, I mean, we were sort of talking about Minecraft, but I just happened to run across that
Yeah.
while we were talking.
And also coincidentally, welcome to the Vomitorium, everyone. As always, I'm the Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. How you guys doing today? How are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm doing great. Just great, as always. Fantastic.
Fantastic. That's not
Not-
what you were telling me before we started.
Not tired at all from
Yeah.
my week of training in Oregon. Jeez. 14
I am-
degrees, snowing.
I am pooped, and most of that is from my sleep schedule. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that I had to finish inking 16 pages in a week so that I could have them all
Oh, yeah.
scanned before I came out here. Because if you realize I'm not in my normal location, I have streamed from here before. I'm house sitting or pet sitting, mix of things, whatever, while people are away. But yeah, I had to finish all that before I came out here for the week, so I could do everything digitally. And then they left at like 10 in the morning. It's like I'm not going to be able to sleep through that. So I just stayed up until they left, and then I slept until I had to get up for this show. So I'm still trying to.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I somehow am still even after a week not quite on a regular sleep schedule. Like I basically slept until I don't know what time it was, 2 hours ago about. So yeah, I got to get used to this because the new job started and I have to be in the office. Well, I mean, once I'm done with this training, which goes on for 2 more weeks, I'm still gonna have to wake up every morning and go to work.
Office things.
Yeah. Did you have to go on an Oregon Trail or Oregon Trail?
Oregano Trail.
No. Yeah, that's what it looks like. No. It was too snowy to go on any trails. Why did we disappear? We disappeared.
Oh, I'll get it a second. It was I clicked on the wrong tab.
We're invisible.
Yeah.
No, I did not go on an Oregon Trail. I went to an Oregon office. Actually, they made me build my own computer. Yeah, they said, here are the parts. Here's your computer. Enjoy.
But could you make a device that builds a computer for you?
I am the device that builds the computer for me.
Not this weird Lovecraftian horror movie contraption.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I am a little bit if you think about it. But no, I built the computer. What's funny is they're like experimenting with this. I guess they haven't hired in a little while, and so they're like, well, we're gonna try these new computers with these mini ATX motherboards that are like that big.
Okay.
And in a box that's like this big, and it's awesome. The specs are amazing. These M2 hard drives that are orders of magnitude faster than SSDs. They're incredible. Put them together. 3 out of the 4 that they bought completely non-functional in some way. One of them wouldn't post at all, so it wouldn't boot. One of them is blue screening. 2 of them are blue screening all the time, and one of them works fine. So they're like, well, there goes that experiment. I guess we'll go back to whatever brand we were using before. So I still don't have a computer at work because I built mine, and mine was one of the blue screen ones.
I'm just like imagining when you first said you had to build a computer that you're like sitting there in the barracks of like the army drill, what's it called, boot camp, right? You're like in the barracks at boot camp, and the staff sergeant is like standing over you with a Glock, and you have to like take a computer apart and put it back together again as fast as possible.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
I'm done, sir. Like, my God, Gump, you're the fastest field stripper I've ever seen. You're going to become a general someday.
I could do that pretty fast. Like there are certain parts that I feel like are way faster now than old computers because like you don't have to worry about bending pins on your processor. But then there's certain other things that it's like getting a graphics card to actually fit in the fucking slot that they build for it is a pain in the ass.
Well, number one, these don't have graphics cards.
But yeah, at least there's that advantage. Yeah.
There's a slot for it.
Yeah.
And in fact, these little things have a 3 wide slot. So you could put a graphics card, almost like any graphics card, full size in there. In this case, we don't need graphics cards, but you know what you do have to worry about? You don't have to worry about bending pins on the processor because the pins are on the motherboard. And one of the ones that we got of the 4, that was why it wouldn't boot, because the pins on the motherboard were bent right out of the box.
That's very unlikely to happen too, which is why they switched them around.
We pulled it out of the box. We're like, well, actually, the guy that was doing that one put it all together. I don't think he bent the pins. He put it all together. It wouldn't boot. It wouldn't post. Whatever. He took the processor off. Looked at it. Is like, the bits are all fucked up. Like, what the hell? Like, I guess he didn't notice out of the box, but I assume he didn't do it because we're all experts on this stuff.
Oh,
And-
yeah. It's not even just that they the modern pins are just superior to the previous ones too. Like I loved that change to computing.
Yeah. This Chozo, the last chat we got for you was, why doesn't Lego make their own Roblox? So if you said something,
No, I did get
after
a
that.
chat that showed up on my end. It was in Discord, and there's a really good reason why it's not showing up, because Fish Chozo clearly wants himself to be put on a list. I will read it out loud so you can all know
Oh, no.
why it didn't show up. He says, if I do manage to create a character in Roblox, my catchphrase will be, quote, time to slaughter the children, end quote.
yeah. Just remember, this is a mostly kids game. So if you do play Roblox,
Pretty sure
keep in
Fish
mind-
Chozo is already on several government lists just because of the things that he types on the internet.
yeah. I mean, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Like, I remember the old Ultima games. There was a running joke in that every game from maybe Ultima 4 or 5 onward, there was a room full of children who would attack you and you had to slaughter them. So, you
Well,
know,
I mean, it
I'm
serves
okay
them
with
right, but
that. Yeah. But Roblox is a kid's game, so
yeah,
just keep in mind you're going to be
kids.
playing.
I think kids are great. They are the wonder of the world. But if a whole bunch of them attacked me, you know I'm putting them down. Like, that's just self-defense,
That's right.
okay?
Yeah. Rick, yeah, I don't want to get into it. I think we talked about this. Did we talk about this on this show, or maybe
We
not?
did.
Um,
I remember the short end of it was they were just downsizing, basically. At your old
Yeah. I got laid off.
Yeah.
That's the answer to
Yeah.
Rick's question. I got laid off in my old game, my old job, and my old game, I guess. Yeah. So, I will say in case you care, the job market, at least in Phoenix, is extremely poor in terms of I was up against. It turns out I was originally told I was up against 70 other people for this job. Turns out it was more like 135. I'm guessing he immediately eliminated half.
Yeah.
Must have, just not being qualified or whatever. But then out of that, the 70 that he seriously considered, I was one of. Turns out they hired 3 people basically, so I was one of the 3. New job.
Yeah.
And they're flying me to Oregon for 3 weeks in a row. That's where I was on Tuesday. That's where I will be on next Tuesday.
Yeah, just don't forget your headphones this time.
Yes, we'll bring them. It was funny. I was standing right at that door, on my way out to the plane, and I was looking around. I was like, I know I forgot something. And I'm looking around. I can't think of what it is. Walked out the door.
Yeah.
Headphones. That's what I forgot. So I won't forget them next time. Yep.
Yeah, don't
All
be
good.
sorry, Ray.
But yeah.
You moved up the ladder when
Yeah.
you switched jobs, so ultimately it was a good thing.
Yeah, I was on a team where I was basically just a level, with with a dozen other people, and it was a pretty, in retrospect, even though I really appreciated having that job and it paid pretty well, it was really old technology. There was no chance for advancement, no chance of,
Overqualified.
I guess, yeah. I mean, there was just no chance of standing out because I'm sitting there with 12 other people supporting this crappy old system that is eventually going to be replaced.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing new development on brand new technology, .NET 8, C# 10, awesome mobile development with this thing called Maui from Microsoft. It's awesome stuff. Plus, I'm basically, well, I actually didn't know this until I went, but one of 2 people who are basically the head of this team of developers. And this company at least last year promoted 30% of their staff. That's insane. 30% of their staff got an actual promotion, raise, etc. So it's there's a ton of, they hire from within. So once you're in, it's like the advancement opportunities are astounding.
Yeah.
So this is a great job.
Yeah.
So excited. So, anyway, best thing could have ever happened to me was getting laid off, I think. Because that was a dead end job. This is the bottom line. So.
Well, we'll just count it on the long path of the boomerang curve, right? Like from where you were, you went down to basically being homeless at one point, and you've just been on the long curve back.
Yeah. What's funny is I was actually talking to someone, the other guy is sort of at my same level, in the airport yesterday, and he was talking about simulation theory, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of I don't know if I really believe it or not, but I kind of think about simulation theory, and I feel like my personal simulation got reset. So I went from age like 22 to age 40 or so. And there was kind of an arc. And then it's like someone accidentally tripped over the cord and there was no backup. So when they started it, they were like, oh shit, well, I guess we have to start the simulation over again. Because I started out homeless, penniless, kind of not knowing what the hell I was doing. And yeah, my job arc has basically been the same as when I was from 22 to 28 or so. The exact same job arc. I'm like, wow, this is weird. It's like everything's happening exactly the same as it did 20 years ago. It's insane.
Well, I mean,
So,
our
that means I
minds
need to start a business soon.
are adapted to think in terms of narratives, so it could definitely seem that way. So another reason why on the micro and macro level, there's that whole thing of like history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme situation, and that's because we are adapted to just see things in narratives.
Yeah, of course it's different this time. Obviously, nobody else's simulation got reset, so everybody else is different and older and all. And I'm meeting new people and everything, but it's the same kind of thing. I've got the partner from almost from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I didn't have kids until much later in my relationship, so that hasn't happened yet. But I am due to start a business because I started my business when I was 26. And I'm a couple of years late by that. Well, no, should be about now.
Yeah.
Should be about now.
Well,
So I need to start a business.
Making a game.
Yeah, I need to buy a house.
Yeah.
And in a couple of years, I need to start having kids again. Apparently.
You probably want to just lay off of that one. You probably have
Maybe.
already did that.
Yeah.
Some things aren't worth rhyming.
Yeah, but have you seen Peach? Our kids would be beautiful. Oh my God.
They'd be tall.
They'd be tall, beautiful, and incredibly smart. Be like, kids would be great. But I'd be in my 60s by the time they got out of college.
Yeah, that's more
Maybe
of what
70s.
I'm thinking. Is that rhyme really worth it?
Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see. I'm wearing Peach down. She didn't want to have kids, but I'm wearing her down. I'm explaining to her how amazing her kids especially would be.
Yeah. No, kids are great.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a little too personal. Anyway.
I'm trying to think if I had anything to say regarding any of that situation, or if I was just going to segue us into an actual story.
About the simulation?
No,
Yeah, it's
I don't
funny,
really have
I-
anything to say about the simulation, but
Well, it's funny. I watch Scott Adams, and he's a big proponent of simulation theory. And he thinks that the simulation oftentimes is for each person might be trying to test specific situations over and over and over again. Now, for me, it seems like I may only have time to have 2 runs of this because it's a long run. For him, all of his most annoying issues have something to do with water. Like his entire life, he's had leaks and water damage and water. Like he's like, I don't know what the deal is, but my simulation is obsessed with water.
Mm.
It's like I always have leaks in my house, and I have, you know, water issues, and cars, and this and that and the other. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I don't quite buy the simulation thing, just personally, but
Mhm.
there are some things along it. I definitely, I think I believe that our universe is a complexity engine, right? That's like the core base of it, and that's just mostly everything that I've been reading mathematically and from science like my entire life. It seems that the universe itself runs like an engine that creates complexity, right?
Mhm.
Anything spiritual on top of that is all just like speculative, blah blah blah. But the cores that I
Yeah.
think are universe. Now, it could
I think
be a
it's
simulation that's also a complexity engine. It's entirely possible. Like there's all kinds of things that could be tacked on top of that. I just try to keep down to what the root of what I can figure out.
yeah. I see it as more of a metaphor that's
Yeah.
useful. It may not be true. It's not really important whether
Yeah,
it's
that's
true
why
or
I brought
not.
up the fact that we're
But-
adapted to think in narratives. It's like as
Yeah.
a useful metaphor, yeah. It's the same that like you go back to the old Hebrew, right? And they had like there would be angels that tested them. Like you have Samael was originally a testing angel, right? It's the same principle, yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of the other things Scott Adams talks about is the concept of programming the simulation, that you can control what happens to you in your life, and that's where the metaphor kind of is just helpful. Like even if it's not necessarily true, there are ways that you can reprogram the simulation in ways that are beneficial to yourself, and things like affirmations and stuff like that are
Or like the law of
ways
attraction,
to do that.
right?
Yeah.
And the thing about
So,
the law
like-
of attraction at the end of the day, because there's some people like, oh,
Mhm.
you're talking to the quantum field or blah, blah, blah. It's like, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe, I'm not going to completely discount it, but the most
Yeah.
rational way of looking at it is when you're in that state, you're in that zone, you're more open to opportunity. And because you're focused
Yeah.
on getting a certain thing, you're going to be paying attention for the opportunities that actually get you the thing you're focused on.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you do affirmations every day, like I am going to succeed at this, or I am going to
Yep.
get this much money, or buy whatever you want, it's foremost in your mind. So yeah,
Yeah.
when you see those opportunities arise every single day, if you're saying that over and over again, you're going to be looking out for those opportunities, and they're going to happen. But it's harder to appreciate that. Like that seems like too much chance. So if you think of it in terms of I'm programming my own personal simulation, I think it's just an easier way to force yourself to do it, and it ends up
Well,
more often than not working.
the thing is too, it's like, again, this is just trying to keep it as rational as possible. There could
Mm-hmm.
be other things that we can't rationalize about it too. And I think the placebo effect is the same thing as the power of a narrative. If you actually really want to see how powerful a narrative can be, you can look at the life of Alexander the Great, who he did everything as if he was living through a narrative. He would even get go to war with other people who wouldn't live out the narrative he was trying to live. Like they wouldn't participate in it. And he's like, I was just going to take over. I was going to leave you as governor, but because you refused to do battle with me, I was even going to spare your men. Like we were actually going to kill each other on the battlefield, but because you refused to do battle, now I'm going to strip you of all your power and throw you to your defeated men. Right? Like, he would do stuff like that. He did that to the Persian king, who was like, he was going to surrender. And this guy was like a tyrant to his people. It's like, no, I'm throwing you to your own people now. But yeah, there's a lot of power in narrative because it gets you in a certain state of mind, right? A certain state of business.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're kind of expecting a certain outcome, you can sort of almost subconsciously make that outcome happen. So,
Yeah.
Again, it's like I said, I think of that metaphor and it's changed in my mind over the years. When things were going really well for me early in my career, I thought of it at first in terms of, God must be smiling down on me, and because things are just happening, that are positive. Now I think in terms of more like I am either properly or improperly authoring my own simulation. So for the couple of years where I was literally homeless and penniless, I know there were extenuating circumstances, COVID being one of the major one, but I was also had very negative thoughts, and I think that was almost subconsciously
it's a negative feedback loop.
right.
Yeah.
And it was causing me to fail further. And so as soon as I kind of broke it, and I ended up basically having to move to a different state.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. A lot of people think, okay, if I'm depressed, the way to get out of it is to just think positive thoughts. It's so much more helpful
there's
to
so many
actually
things about it.
change your physical environment.
Yeah,
And so
you got to remove yourself
actually-
from the situation, whether it's a physical environment, whether it's an emotional environment, or whatever. You have to actually
Right.
get out of the depression.
Yeah.
Right? It's like leaving the valley.
So
from the
getting-
mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So getting evicted from my apartment and having to move back to Alabama was probably the best thing for me at the time, because I was kind of in this negative spiral, and being in a completely different environment where I didn't have to worry about rent for a while. I was living with my mom, and didn't have to worry about food. And of course, that's why I ballooned up to 285, but didn't have to, just a completely different environment, very positive. And then just like being like, okay, I don't have to worry about anything but getting a fucking job.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then it felt so much better. And just like, and then I could move back with a completely different mindset. So
Well, that's why that's why I really liked Jordan Peterson's stuff, because I think if you look at specifically the Book of Genesis with that frame, that is more of what that book is saying than anything, right? It's a whole book about generations of different people who are in circumstances where their bad mindset put them in their initial circumstance, and they had to get out of that circumstance to have a better mindset and stuff, right? Like even the Cain and Abel, right? Cain's just not doing the proper offering, so he's actually putting himself in the bad state, right? And that's like where the whole term like God helps those who help themselves is like, you actually have to be putting yourself in that good mindset. You have to be doing the proper offerings before life will actually start shining on you. Like that's like the whole book of Genesis is just stories about that.
Yeah. And I think his thing about cleaning your room is a big thing about your environment. Like some people can't obviously just get up and move.
Yeah.
But if your environment is just like you got crap everywhere and it's just like you can't find anything and it just feels
just make your environment
dirty.
happier.
Yeah. Get up, go for a walk, come back, clean up your area and clean up your whole environment, and maybe change your furniture around, and just it'll make you feel different. So,
and some people do better in clutter, but nobody does better in dirt. It's like you can have a room that's kind of messy, but you should make sure all the grime and stuff is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw out your freaking pizza boxes.
Oh, for sure. Empty soda cans. Make sure those are gone as soon as you're done with them. I've seen people, they'll have like Rockstar Red Bull cans or whatever just lined up across their desk. I'm like, you wonder why you're in a funk.
Throw them out. Yeah.
Attracting insects
so simple.
and stuff. And
yeah, I funny enough, at my old apartment in Phoenix when I was basically in a rut, I had all kinds of old stuff, just food and soda cans and all kinds of shit all over the place. Here, when I'm done with this, it's right in the trash. Like not for a split second will an empty bottle, well, unless we're still talking, be around me. So
actually, I think I'm about
right
to
in the
toss
trash.
mine as an excuse to grab another one. So I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have much else. So yeah, I think we've. I don't know how we got into that from Fortnite, but I know I wanted to briefly say that World of Warcraft Season of Discovery is live as of Thursday, I believe. That it launched November 30th, and John Dillard and I have been fiddling around with Warcraft Classic. He had never played it before, and I'm trying to teach him, but he's sometimes a little stubborn when I tell him what to do.
Yeah.
But
Especially
But
with
we're gonna
Warcraft, like
start.
those old MMOs are hard to teach somebody anyway. Like if you didn't play
Yeah.
them, then it's a little slow on the pickup, and there's so much you have
Yeah.
to learn.
I will say, like, when I played originally and the way I started to play again, so I haven't played in like at least a decade.
Yeah.
Like probably since Mists of Pandaria, I think. And I've never played Classic. So
I think that was the
my
last one I touched,
tendency,
too.
yeah, my tendency is to do each quest as you find them, complete all the things before you move on. And the problem with that is you end up getting ahead of them in terms of like your level. So you end up doing these lower level quests because you've been doing other stuff and raising levels. And then your progress really slows down because you don't get as much experience then.
Yeah.
John Dillard has forced me because he has a short attention span.
Yeah.
So he gets sick of these things and he's like, let's just move on to the next area and see what quests are there. I'm like, that's actually not a bad idea. I'm going to delete all these old low level quests. Let's move on and just see. Who cares? Oh, so I won't get this low level armor that I've already got better than already. Like, so we're kind of progressing. Well, I just started over literally today, but we were progressing pretty quickly because he has such short attention span. So.
Oh, when I play games like that, I progress really quick. And it's not even attention span. I just like to. I'm like a min max without even trying.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, wait,
Yeah.
I just barely hit the level. I'm moving to the next place. Like I'm at the level I need to be.
Yeah.
I'm going straight to the next place. I'll do something else. I'll eventually clean up all the quests. I'll just wait until I'm so high level that it takes me literally no time to clean up those quests later.
That's the problem with Warcraft. Some of these quests, there's no way to speed them up. You have to kill 50 of the same thing over and over and over again. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Which they've improved in the retail version, but
Yeah.
we're in
Well,
Classic.
there
So
is a certain level gap where it's like it is faster because instead of taking like 5 shots to kill something, you're at the level that you're literally one tapping
Yeah.
it. You know, so
yeah, that's true. But there's no real reason to go back
Yeah.
and do low level quests at this.
other
But
than
anyway,
OCD and clearing out quests.
yeah, I guess. But it has led for us to die more often because we'll get to a place and I think we were level 12 or something and running into level 15 and 16 creatures that are just kicking our ass. But it's more fun. And plus it's not hardcore, so you die, all right, run back to your body, you're fine. Try again.
Yeah.
Oh, Rick is trying to pawn off his copies of Gauntlet.
Yeah.
You want
I
to play
mean,
Gauntlet with Rick?
he already gave me a copy. Remember, we were on stream when he gifted it to me, which I do plan on playing.
Oh yeah.
I have not had any time to play with anybody on anything
Yeah.
lately. The only time that I've made, because I can kind of have it running on its own in the background, is I've been doing my dailies on Star Rail. That's it. That's the only game that I've touched in like a week.
And if you want to play with me, at the moment, it'll have to be on the weekends because during the week, I'm in a house at night that has really poor internet, unfortunately. Actually,
We're
it's
only
good
going
enough
to
for
be
the.
struggling
Well,
through
no.
just for the show.
Yeah. I was like, wait, was it okay? No, I was totally like glitching out, wasn't I?
Yeah, you suggested that you might try your data or something.
I'll try my
next time. Yeah.
I'll do through my phone next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although even with the phone, the reception is terrible in nowhere. Oregon is it's ridiculous. But yeah, if you want to play, it'll have to be weekends, at least for the next couple weeks.
Nowhere
And I'm
is
home.
like the only place in Oregon I would want to be, because the very few hotspots of it are filled with horrible people.
Yeah. Luckily, my company headquarters are nowhere near Portland.
This is
Although
the
we're
sad
close
part.
to Redmond.
Portland
Washington.
is actually such a cool town. If you actually look at like the history of Portland, the way that the city is laid out is a cool city. It's just been ruined by mostly my generation, millennial hipsters. But
Yeah. I will say, I'll give you a hint.
yeah.
I do have a picture of the last Blockbuster on Earth that I took
Nice.
a couple days ago. I didn't actually get out of the car. I took the picture from the car. Maybe next week I'll get out of the car and go in, see if I can rent a video. I wonder if I have my old Blockbuster. No, I don't think I have it, but I have an account with Blockbuster theoretically if they still have.
I wish I kept it. So I never had my own membership card, but I often had the card on me because like my dad, it was his card, would just be at work, so he would just leave it. It's like go pick something up before I come home from work or something. And I wish I had kept it.
Well,
but
Blockbuster actually existed in my adult life. Like, I used to rent videos like
I got so
as an
pissed.
adult.
Not Blockbuster specifically, but especially after seeing the movie Clerks as a kid, I was like, man, I would love to work at a video rental store. That just sounds like the best starter job before going in anything else. And by the time I was old enough to work at a job, all the video rental stores were closed down.
Yeah. And that was like a shitty little one. So that's the one you really want to work at because, I'm sure Blockbuster has all kinds of corporate bullshit.
When I was a teenager, I could have worked at Blockbuster or Family Video or what was the other big one? Hollywood Video. Like those three were still up, but actually I think the Hollywood Video was closing. But the ones that I would actually want to work at, they were all gone. They were outcompeted by Blockbuster. No options were available. I was like, God damn it. That was actually one of the things I wanted to do. I was looking forward to like a after school job at a video rental store, and it was just never an option. You took that from me, Netflix.
I swear. My sister used to work at a movie theater. There was like a small theater. I think they had like 3 screens. And I don't know if I've told this story before, but she would set the video games to free play. Like before the theater would open so that I could go play. Like they had the original Mario Brothers, stomping on turtles. And I would play that for hours and hours and hours for free. It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could get a movie theater job still today, but again, it's kind of like, it's not as fun as it used to be. There used to be kind of very little supervision. It's just kind of, hey, look, as long as you don't.
There's still some smaller privately owned theaters, but it's slim pickings.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few. But then they're usually like locally owned by like kind of like a mom and pop kind of a thing. And so they're like the ones, they wouldn't like have a teenager running it. I don't know.
They might, but
seems like a very 80s
they probably
thing.
would know you, right? Like if you're probably
Maybe,
like a family friend if you're not part of the family. Like if you're there and they like left you by yourself. They're like, you've been working here for 5 years. We could take a break while you're running everything.
Yeah. I guess it's just like, those kinds of fun little jobs and things like that, and kind of messing around at your job and not getting in trouble. It's just kind of a small town kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Just more likely to happen. But see, here's the thing. Basically, the small town that I lived in the 80s isn't small anymore.
Same.
It's a metropolitan area, and it's like there's just fewer small towns. So
the town that I grew up in was still a small town in the 90s. By the time those family video stores had closed down, it had shot up like almost like an order of magnitude in population.
Yeah. And now it's like, the only theaters around here, AMC and Harkins, which is actually kind of it's a local chain, but man, they have awesome popcorn.
Yeah. Amazing. Speaking of movies, I guess, because I did actually in the tweet put some topics that we were going to talk about today. We haven't even really touched a single one of them, I think. Oh, I guess the Fortnite may be in there. But movies aren't doing so hot right now, just in general. Some of them are doing great, actually. Some of them. I might actually go see a movie at my local theater for once by myself. I almost never, ever go to a movie theater by myself, but I might make an exception for this because Godzilla -1 is currently in theaters.
I knew it.
And it looks great. Even from the trailer. I watched the Film Threat review because I really like Chris Gore. I've followed him for a long time. And it's one of the few movies that they gave outstandingly positive reviews for. And I'm just like, God, I love Godzilla. I absolutely do. I might go and see that.
I knew that's the one you were going to say. Like, did you see, I think it was Nerdrotic posted the, we can look it up right now. The Rotten Tomatoes scores like critics and audience, like high 90s.
Yeah.
Like it's
Because
insane.
they made a good movie. Like, just unanimously, what people are saying, if Godzilla wasn't in this movie, the main story of The People would have still been a good movie on its own, but it was also
God,
enhanced by Godzilla being, like, the horror monster in the movie.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen, I mean, I'm sure there has, like, where both the critics gave it a 97, which, why isn't it, like, certified fresh?
I don't know.
understand that. And the audience gave it a 98. So obviously there's like no message, no in-your-face politics, because it's not divisive. Everybody
not.
loves it.
But it's also, it's a tragic story, right? It's basically a horror story, but the original Godzilla was too. And every time they try to reboot it, which they've done a couple times, they try to do it kind of a horror story. This is probably the only one that's done it right since the first one, from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
But like the tragedy is also the lives of the people who get caught up in this. So there's a lot of relatable characters in it too. And I think that's probably why the audience and the critics alike are enjoying this.
Yeah. Man, if you look at top critics, 100%. Every single one of them gave it a positive review. That's
Yeah,
insane.
so I'm thinking of actually going to see it.
Yeah. 4.8 out of 5 average. Why didn't it get a certified fresh? I don't get it. I don't know what that even means.
You know what? Maybe I'll bully my my buddy Sentry to go to the movies with me. I'll tell him like, hey, take a break from your kid and your wife. Go see Godzilla with me. We haven't hung out in like 2 years.
And what's funny is like Yellow Flash was saying that it's not a wide release. I mean, I guess it's in pretty much every theater, but like one screen.
Yeah.
And he's like,
I think my local Cinemark only has it on one screen.
Yeah. Hey, Keely Chow.
Hey.
But yeah, I've seen people saying, man, if they were like did a wider multi-screen release everywhere, it could be like $1 billion movie.
It's already doing great too. I think the budget for the movie was like $17 million.
That's insane. 17?
Yes.
Not 70?
No, I think I
God.
heard it was 17. It could be. I could have heard it wrong and it was 7D, but I think I heard it was
That can't
17.
be right. That can't be right.
It's one of those two. I heard a 7 and a T sound.
Google's saying 15 million.
50. Okay, so what I heard was probably close to right.
So maybe 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did
How?
less,
Like-
lower budget than Five Nights at Freddy's.
Holy shit. I mean, that's like, I'm trying to think, like 1/40th or 1/30th of the budget of some of these Marvel movies.
Oh yeah.
It's like 3% of the budget of some of these movies
And
that have
honestly,
failed.
it's
Spectacular.
probably going to be the best movie of the year,
Yeah.
of the whole year. Because I mean, think what it's competing against. Right? There's a couple good things,
The
but-
Marvels.
So, yeah. Like the Marvels is competing against anything. Like it's got what, Barbie? Because Barbie did really well. Oppenheimer. I like Keely
Oppenheimer.
Chow's comment. What's the difference between Oppenheimer and Godzilla movies? The answer: Godzilla movies have never bombed in Japan. Yeah. Just,
I've heard that.
I like
That's
the double
classic,
entendre
yeah.
there.
Yeah. So this released yesterday. It's already probably broken even in 2 days.
Yeah.
It's worldwide 28 million box office.
Oh yeah.
So that probably covered the whole budget and marketing, which they hardly marketed it at all. And everything, I'm guessing. It's
This
crazy.
says I think they use cheap labor for the visual effects. Probably, but I mean, I think they just use Japanese labor, which in general is cheaper than American labor when it comes to movie production. A lot of their Japanese productions are just lower budget than American in general.
Mhm.
But also, I believe most of the stuff that were happening with the people were practical effects. Anything that's like on the ground level. And obviously there's like Godzilla superimposed in and all that, or if there's planes or anything of it, that's not used practically. But anything that like you see a person running on the ground, I think most of that was practical, and that was one of the reasons they kept the budget so low.
Mm-hmm.
Then all the special
Crazy.
effects,
Yeah,
like buildings breaking, Godzilla himself, things like that.
Mm-hmm. It could pass the Marvels. The Marvels worldwide in a month hasn't even broken 200 million.
Yeah, no, it's definitely passing the Marvels. I think as a limited screening, it's still going to pass the Marvels.
The Marvels was in 4,000 theaters. This is in half, 2,300.
Yeah.
I think they should expand the release
Honestly,
if they can.
If it does well enough, they might. They might do an extended run. Who knows? The problem is, it's a Japanese studio, so it's all about budget, right? And what you usually think about with a movie is a lot of times for the theater, right? Your marketing's going to be about as much as the actual budget of the movie, and then to get it in theaters is probably going to be about half the budget of the movie, which often limits how much theaters it's in. But if you do well enough, if you're making enough, you might as well double up and spend some extra money to get it in more theaters.
Yeah, and I think I said, did I say 2 days? I mean, these are numbers from one day.
Yeah.
Release day, 27.8 million.
Yeah.
One day.
Which is
imagine 2 weeks from now.
For how small of a screening it is. You know.
Was Thanksgiving the movie good? I don't know.
it.
I think I saw Hack the Movies did a review of that. If you want to look them up on YouTube. It looks decent for a horror movie. Kind of looks like Friday the 13th style hack and slash. Yeah.
Yeah, Fizz says, stop bringing up the Marvels. Nobody cares. Hey, it's my show. And bring up whatever the fuck I
compare.
want.
I think it's appropriate to compare.
I just like shitting on the Marvels.
Humongous.
It's fun, so that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. The other big Disney movie, Wish.
Oh, that's terrible.
What's funny is it got a higher audience score. It got a 48% with critics. And I saw some people, some people raging on Twitter. It's a good movie. Why is it doing so bad? It's not a good movie. That's the reason.
Especially when looking at the plot, like, it can't be a good movie. At best, it's an okay theme park ride. Because there's it's just taking you from event to event. There's really no tension or anything that happens in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which is common for modern Disney movies.
It's just, I mean, what seems to be happening, especially with these animated movies, is that they have an idea, and it's a pretty good idea. We're going to make a movie about the song When You Wish Upon a Star, the origin. Okay. And then the wokies take it on. They're writers. They're like, oh, well, I mean, we have to make it about the patriarchy, of course, and overthrowing the king and blah, 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 blah. And then but they don't have they don't have a story in mind. They're just like, we just need to, push the message. And that's what happens there's no story. The characters are awful. The writers suck.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's also
Rick liked it.
I think they forgot what the core feature of the heroine's journey is, because the woman's version of the hero journey is kind of different than the guys, and they had it down pat for the entirety of the at least the Disney Renaissance. A couple movies before that, I think at least
Tangled.
Cinderella had it right before the Disney's Renaissance, but from Ariel. Probably all the way through to Tangled, I think. They probably had it down pat. They had what the heroine's journey was. And most of it is, while the hero's journey is almost taking on the responsibility of the world, the heroine's journey is kind of taking on the responsibility of, not the outside world, but the inside world, right? So a lot of it is emotional responsibility, but it can also be responsibility towards the family and those close to you, right? It's kind of like the difference between the father figure and the mother figure, right? I think one of the stories that has the heroine's journey down perfect, not even a Disney story, is Jim Henson's adaptation of The Labyrinth, right? Because basically what Sarah does is she becomes a mom to all of the characters that she meets, right? And she helps them.
Yeah.
They're basically all kids. And she's helping herself by becoming a mom. And even like the whole story is because she has to take care of her stepbrother or half-brother. I think it's her half-brother. She has to take care of her half-brother, which is like her shirking the motherly responsibility that she could have had, and then going to save him is picking it back up. And that's kind of like the core of the heroine's journey. And you can kind of find that core in like The Little Mermaid. Mulan is kind of a subversion of that. Hers is closer to the traditional hero's journey, but also the story they based it off of was closer to the traditional hero's journey. So, I mean, that one, it's still relatable and gets a pass. But, like, Pocahontas is also trying to, like, be that emotional gap bridger between them, and I think that was slightly before, that was slightly before the Renaissance. You have that with a few of the different movies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
just
I think the
don't get it
problem
anymore.
is, I think the problem is that they don't accept the fact that men are different from women, or that women are different from men, and that they don't. When you try to crowbar in a male story, I mean, like you said, Mulan was an exception for the most part, but I mean, other than that,
But even then, like,
when you
as
try
the
to
exception,
crowbar in a
it's-
male story,
right, it still subverted the hero's journey, right? Like, it kind of turned it into the heroine's journey.
yeah.
Yeah.
And in the end, she's back to saying, "Yeah, I am a woman, and I'm not, and I'm proud of it." And you know,
We actually have to solve
She,
this problem a woman's way.
she does,
Yeah.
right? She does it. You know, she fixes everything a little bit differently from the way a male character would. But now it's like, no. She has to act just like a man. She has to be the hero. She has to do this, and you know, basically
Now-
be a man.
The caveat to that, I don't think Wish they're trying to do the hero's journey. From
No,
what I've
it's a
seen,
different kind of story.
I think they are trying the heroine's journey, and even Rick says this. They did that a lot with Wish, or at least I think I did. I think they just failed horrendously at trying it.
Yeah.
Like I said, they had it down pat. They just don't get it anymore. I don't think Wish is falling into this whole we're trying to make the character like a guy. The problem is that they've become too trope heavy. They've relied on too many things. It's the same issue with every character after Rapunzel having this quirky, adorkable lead female. It worked with Rapunzel. It made sense to her backstory because she was isolated in the tower. It kind of worked with like Anna because she had a similar I was trapped in this castle this entire time lifestyle. But even then, it didn't work as well as it did with Rapunzel. But then, like, a whole bunch of the other people that try to put it on, like, it doesn't work as well with Moana. Like, I just don't, it doesn't match the story that's
Because
being done.
she grew up and lived with other people. She should be fairly normal.
It doesn't work with Judy Hopps, who grew up with like 100 brothers and sisters or whatever. Like, it just, most of these personality types, you can't just throw them on any character.
Yeah. Rapunzel was perfect because, like, she literally, from the time she was a baby, has never come in contact with another human being other than her quote unquote mother. And it's like, okay, she's gonna act really strange when she runs into people and be like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And then
She has this
and
whole,
Anna,
naivety of the world because she doesn't know people, but also this like skepticism at the same time because she's been told that the outside world is danger, and it's like these two different factors that are competing with each other in her head the entire time.
Yeah. And I think they did a good. I mean, I frankly, I loved the original Frozen. I loved it.
I think
Fantastic.
there's a lot of weaknesses to it. I like the first half of Frozen. I think they probably should have kept the original plot that they were going with, right? I think the musical numbers are great, though. Like, there's a reason why they're so catchy. I ultimately like the relationship between the two sisters by the end, but it's not as strong as Tangled. And it's sad that Tangled isn't liked as much. Tangled is just a much better movie than Frozen. Yeah, I agree with Joshua, though.
Yeah, I will agree. Tangled is a better movie. Frozen had better music.
Oh, for sure.
Had better songs.
Though I think Tangled has one better song than the entirety of Frozen. It's just the rest of them are weak, and that's I Had a Dream.
Yeah.
Or I Have a Dream. Like, I think that song is great. Brad
The one at
Garrett's
the
in it.
beginning, right?
Yeah. No, it's the one where
I
they're
know.
in the bar, right? I've got a dream.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a
Got it, yeah.
dream. Like, I think that's the best
Yeah.
song of the whole movie. I think that song blows
Of
away
course.
anything that's in Frozen.
I like the beginning song of Tangled, frankly.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a sucker for Disney songs usually, at least the
Well,
Renaissance
they casted,
ones.
what was it, Mandy Moore, who's like an excellent singer, too. So that makes the music look great.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Frozen music is amazing.
Well, it's good
But yeah,
because
but
they
at least
casted, what's her name? Idina Menzel.
Idina Menzel,
Who is
yeah.
also a fantastic singer.
who I actually saw in Wicked, I believe on Broadway.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic, unbelievable. That was one benefit to having a wife from New York, is that she always wanted to go back to New York and go to Broadway shows. But anyway,
If anyone's talking about
I was gonna
Frozen,
say-
someone will say Tangled was better. Then someone will always be me. I will die on the hill that Tangled was better.
Joshua's coming up with all these new rules of the internet.
I think that
if a
rule's
movie
been
exists,
around.
Rick Pepper. Yeah,
But it will always be me if I'm in the conversation. I will be the one that says that.
yeah. Anyway, I forget what we were talking. Yeah, these. I mean, it's too many problems to list. And the problem is the writers' room. I don't know where they found these people, but they all suck in different ways, in multiple different ways. And I don't know if there's any one thing. Okay, if we do this different or that different, there's not one thing. They need to like start over and like hire good writers, like they used to.
Yeah.
John Lasseter, holy crap! I know
Actually,
his.
this might be part of it, right? There's another article that I had brought up, and while I don't know if this is 100% the case, Bob Iger has a claim as to why he believes the Marvels fell short at the box office, and he's actually not blaming the audience. Believe it or not, he's not saying that the audience is all full of like sexist people who don't want to see women. He's actually blaming the movie, like the competency of the movie. And one of the things he said is there wasn't much
Imagine this.
as much supervision on set, right? So he's actually blaming management on that end, directing, the producers who are supposed to be wrangling everything and making sure everything goes according to plan, so the director can do his job. Like he's actually blaming supervision,
Yeah.
and that's probably right because that movie looks like it's a hot mess, and even as dumb as it could be, you can always imagine that the original plot, nobody pitches a plot that's bad. It's the writing that comes down, because I could turn that plot into a good plot. I could make it good if you
Yeah.
gave me like, I don't know, 3 months to rewrite the script. I probably could turn it into a good plot. But if you don't have good
Yeah.
supervision, it doesn't matter.
I think I didn't think of that as well. It's not just the writers, the directors too, and it's not that this was directed by Nia DaCosta. It's not that she's necessarily a bad director. It's that this is the third movie she's ever directed.
Yeah,
She went from
she's inexperienced.
Little Woods, which I've never heard of, to Candyman, I guess a remake.
Yeah, there was a remake
To a
of Candyman that
600
happened
million-
recently.
Yeah, which I haven't seen, but I mean, I didn't hear bad things about it.
Yeah.
To a $600 million Marvel movie, she wasn't ready.
That's a big jump, right? And
I mean, Jesus.
maybe she could have been if some of the normal protocols were in place too, right? Because he's saying, like, according to him,
Or
there would normally be executives on set that are looking over what's being done, but that wasn't really there
Or-
for the Marvels.
even better, if you want her to become a Marvel movie director,
Have her shadow.
how about making her assistant director
Yeah.
first? But
Yeah.
of course, she's a black woman, probably gay. I don't know. It's like, oh, you can't tell her what to do. Oh, of course not. It's like,
I don't even know if that's.
Well, if
I mean,
she-
there's definitely people in their executive branch that probably believe things like that, right? But it's like
Yeah.
even if they have full faith in her, let's just say
Yeah.
She could or couldn't be a diversity hire. I'm leaning more towards the could, but maybe they're not being so harsh about like that you can't tell her what to do. We've been
Yeah, I
seeing
don't know
less and less supervision on sets for a while. Like this is just a general problem with Disney Marvel. There is very little supervision over Multiverse of Madness. There is very little supervision over Quantumania. This seems to have the least amount of supervision, and it seems to be a general trend that they're doing these risk hires and they're giving them less to work with.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay.
You know,
I mean, okay, so like I can sort of understand. I mean, yeah. It's okay, that's a great point. So Multiverse of Madness was Sam Raimi.
yeah. So
Zillion movies under his belt. But with no executive oversight, supervision, like he got out of control.
Well, it's not even just him too, right? So Sam Raimi was put in a really bad pickle for this situation because he didn't write the script for the movie. He was just going to be the director. He was going to execute a script that was written. The original script died before it even got to them, right? So then the guy who ended up being the main writer of the movie ended up writing a new script in like what was it? It was like 6 weeks before the movie started or something like that. Maybe even less. And then they threw out the script that he wrote before the movie started, and he was writing the script as they were filming the movie.
Yeah.
Right? So you wonder why even a talented director like Sam Raimi ended up having problems. And I think that is also part of the executive problem in that he got a hand, the whole movie got out of hand because if the executives were involved early on, a finished script would have been written and like finalized. This is the script before the movie even started.
Yeah. And same with Quantumania, Ant-Man 3. It's the same director as like Ant-Man 1, which I loved. Ant-Man, I understand some people, it wasn't their style or whatever, but he has a million movies under his belt going back to the 90s.
Ant-Man
and the Wasp.
I'm warming up on the original, right? I don't change my opinion. Right, I thought when it came out that it was the weakest Marvel movie at that time, and I kind of think, up until this recent one, I thought Quantumania was really bad, but then, there's been some stuff that appears came out that are even worse. But my opinion had been too with like Ant-Man and Wasp that at each time that it came out, it was kind of like the worst Marvel movie. But like retroactively, that still makes Ant-Man way better than a lot of the stuff that came out after it.
Yeah, I'm looking at like Thor: Love and Thunder, Taika Waititi.
Oh,
he's made some good stuff.
I think
he's made some god awful stuff. He can be.
He's actually a really great director. When he's working on original stuff and he's passionate about the idea he's working on. Like we knew he didn't want to work on
Jojo Rabbit?
Ragnarok, right? At all. Right? He did it for the paycheck.
Yeah.
He's not really a fan of superheroes. I think he ended up liking the second one more than the first one from what he said in the interview. But he doesn't like these movies. He's kind of racist. He's like the whole time in the interview, he was making fun of white people and these are the type of movies that you like, which I think is even more racist against people who aren't white because there's so many people of like different ethnic backgrounds that love the Marvel movies. So I don't know. Taika is just one of those really out there, insane creative types. He's like Salvador Dali in a way. So I don't really take most of what he says seriously, but we know he wasn't interested in the movie.
Yeah. Was he? I know he was in. What was that movie? Free Guy, right?
Yeah. He was the director. Him and
was
Ryan
he
Reynolds.
the director of that too?
Yeah.
No.
I think, or was he a producer?
Director
he might have just been a producer on it.
Yeah, and he was one of the characters, but no, it was Sean Levy was.
Okay. Yeah, I remember he was involved in the production end. He might have just been an executive producer with Ryan, and that's why both of them were in the movie. Obviously, Ryan being the main character. I remember they did a advertisement for it where they were both of their Marvel characters. It had Deadpool and God, I cannot remember the name of the rock guy that they ruined. Who was the character in Ragnarok?
The what guy?
In Thor Ragnarok, the
was
rock.
Taika Waititi?
Yeah, he played the rock guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess just his voice. Yeah. Um,
He's actually important in the comics, and he was a badass, and they turned him into an absolute like chump.
Korg.
Korg. I knew it was a one-syllable word. I just could not remember what it was.
Yeah. He was the comedy relief. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but he wasn't supposed to be. If you actually compared him to the comic character, like he was a hardened badass like everybody else in the arena. But is he really a comedy relief when the entire movie is a comedy relief?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the issue is that, I mean, again, it's not just one issue, because we've seen
it's everything.
Terrible movies by great directors, or at least seasoned directors, and terrible movies by these. I think there's been a couple of like just really young, inexperienced directors.
Well, it's like a sports team, right? I will always tell people this, and they think you're insane if you think that's the reason. I'm like, no, because that's the only consistent thing. And it's like you have a team that's doing bad year after year. They draft new players. They get a good draft. They pull somebody from another team who was doing well. They get a new coach. The team is still doing bad. That's because the problem was always the management. Because the management isn't letting the team play to their fullest. They're doing something to restrict them. They always are. And when management changes or they let up, you start seeing a team do better. Right? It's the same thing with.
But we were saying
as movies.
We were saying management wasn't taking enough control in some cases.
No, in sports teams sometimes they need more control. It depends on what the problem with the team is.
Yeah.
But it's always a failure of management every single time, and you get that because I could say in the other hand, WB was suffering from too much management input. Like there's a balance that needs to have a problem. But a lot of the Zack Snyder stuff, they were like neutering his work by having too much management oversight. And there was a couple other things that were going on. Were like, it's a movie that did horrible because the production got too far involved. Was that awful Last Airbender movie, right? Production got so involved. I think the person who played Katara was like the niece of one of the producers or something like that. Right? Okay. So it goes in both directions. It's just you have to find like an equilibrium. Especially when you have a franchise this big, you do need more oversight, but you need to give your artists just enough slack that they can be creative and do the thing that you hired them to do.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times, like I think was it Fitzgerald? Yeah, Fitzgerald brought up Rian Johnson. Like he's done some really great movies when he cared. Like when he was like, "Yeah, this is my baby. I'm gonna do a good job." I'm looking at his things. I liked Looper. It was okay. People say Knives Out was pretty good.
I didn't like it. I liked Looper. Looper was pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't like Knives Out.
I mean, I guess I actually don't even recognize Brick and Brothers Bloom. I've never heard of those.
But the thing is, Rian Johnson, they hired him to subvert it. They just, it was like they let an animal out of the cage and they didn't realize how much mayhem the animal was actually going to cause.
Yeah. And just like, these directors that either outright hate the IP that they're put in charge of, or they don't care, or they don't understand it, or whatever.
Yeah. And that's why specifically on Disney, I think it is a not enough management. Disney used to be really good at finding like that balance, that equilibrium. And you can tell because we can look at the history of Disney. Disney had a really strong history for a really long time, whether you want to compare animation or live action.
Yeah. And clearly, like, the early Marvel movies were mostly all Jon Favreau, right?
Yes.
And I mean, oh my God, he must absolutely adore, Marvel, because
he was involved. A lot of it actually was Kevin, right? Back before he got Feige. Like, this like super high position, because he was basically like the editor-in-chief, but in a movie stance. And he was the one that was helping with the Russos were making the whole Avengers thing, but he was trying to make sure everything could land into that movie and then out of that movie into the next one.
Mm-hmm.
But you just don't really see him involved anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, he's been doing it for 20 years now, since I guess Hulk was his first sort of Marvel movie. and they got to
Well,
have someone else. You
no,
know,
that was not his first Marvel movie. That was his first MCU movie. They sniped him off of the X-Men trilogy. He was the
oh,
kind of like the comic consultant guy. He was the guy who like knew the continuity of the comics, and he was making sure that characters felt like the characters in the X-Men movie. That's why he was moved over to the whole MCU in the first place.
yeah,
Which is why it's also doubly bad when they fuck something up, because that was the whole reason he got into this business, and he should be making sure that like no characters have to feel like themselves. You look at him in interviews, he's soulless. Like he's basically he got his paycheck, he sold out, he doesn't give a shit anymore.
yeah. Well, I from what I hear, is I guess it's still a rumor that this sort of hostile takeover of Disney might be proceeding from this activist investor. I can't remember the name of him off the top of my head, but with Bob Iger leaving finally, maybe this new investor will. What's his name? Nelson or something?
I don't remember his name. But I mean, it's about time, because the thing is, like, it would be Bob finally leaving.
Yeah.
Right? It looked like he left for a while,
Yeah.
and he technically did, but he wasn't gone long enough for them to actually be off the tracks that he already set. So he just came back to pick up where he left off.
Yeah, this guy Nelson Peltz
Yeah.
has bought up a bunch of shares of Disney, and his history is of taking these companies that were once great, were basically going down the wrong path, and getting them back on course.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that there's a lot of pushback on letting him do that with Disney.
If I was him, right? If I was him and I actually did that hostile takeover, the very first thing I would do is contact Roy's family and get the Disneys back into Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun, and it's funny that they the stuff going on in Florida even was like the Disney's vision of like Epcot.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a city, not a theme park, but it was supposed to be a
And
futuristic
they just never did it.
city. Yeah, the Disney's, after Walt died, and I think his brother died like the next year, that whole thing went to the wayside, and they went down this weird path of making Epcot a theme park, and
Yeah,
apparently
Walt's,
even like
brother was the
breaking
first
some
Roy.
laws.
There's 3 Roys,
Yeah,
right? Each of the sons are Roy, but they have a different middle. Like, so he had like, it was like Roy O, then there's like a Roy P. Like, they just all have different middle names.
Hey, Dario's here, Glacier Mountain Comics. Yeah, we talked about Godzilla -1 earlier. Metal might actually go see it in the theaters.
I might, yes. I just might
Maybe.
do that tomorrow or the day after, depending on how the scheduling goes. I still have a lot of work to do too, but
What was the last movie you saw? At the
last
theater?
movie I
You know?
saw in a movie theater. Let me think about that.
Did you see the Mario Brothers movie?
I did
in the
see
theater?
Mario Brothers in theater. I think that might have been the last one.
did?
Yeah, yeah. I went
Okay.
with my brothers.
Nice. I feel like I saw one after that, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, no, I think that was the last one.
I saw that. I went to the theater twice. I saw it in the theaters twice.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd been to a movie
Well,
before
you
that
want to hear some
in
things
years.
we may not be see. Well, maybe one of them. One of these things I might see if they're actually given proper creative control. This one I actually don't want management to get too far involved. I just want the people who have been working on the movie to work on it. So Bob's coming and he's saying that he won't apologize for making so many sequels, because that's one of the things that a lot of people are complaining about. And
Who?
some of these sequels,
Bob-
Bob Iger, some of these sequels are still on the docket to be made. Deadpool 3, I don't know if it'll be good as Deadpool 1 and 2. But as far as I know, I mean, most of the same people are still working on it. And we know that Hugh Jackman's going to be in as Wolverine. While I never thought he was that fitting as Wolverine, he is the Wolverine that we've had, so It is what it is. And I like Hugh Jackman. Like, I don't dislike his character. He just doesn't feel very Wolverine to me. So that one, I really don't want too much executive oversight. As long as they make sure the same people are working on it, it should go as well as the previous two did. But they're making Inside Out 2.
I didn't really like Deadpool 2 very much, but
I didn't like it as much as the first one. There was a lot of stuff from it I liked. I didn't like how they handled the character of Domino. Because she didn't act like Domino. She was just way too chipper and stuff. Domino is supposed to basically just be pissed off at Wade the entire time.
She's supposed to be, or she was?
No, she's supposed to be pissed off at Wade the entire time.
Oh, okay.
She just wasn't. Like, and I kind of get, like, their idea, too, is like, well, you know, if some luck just goes her way all the time, why wouldn't she be happy? Well, also, if everything's always going to go her way, why should she ever be happy? She's never surprised, you know, like, this is just the way life is. So, like, you could really go either way with it. But if she was so lucky, why would she have to hang out with Deadpool? Think about that.
Yeah, I mean, she has to hang out with someone, right?
Yeah. But that's the way. Like, their relationship is, she hates Wade. Absolutely. Yeah, that's how it is in the comics. In this movie, she's just like this chipper, happy-go-lucky person. And I don't know. I did not like the way Domino was handled in that movie. I don't even care as much about the whole casting thing, because they did try to do like this other thing where sometimes instead of dominoes being white with black dots, sometimes they're black with white dots. So that they even gave her like that white thing around. Like, I'm ultimately fine with that. That doesn't bother me that much, though. I do think they should have just body painted the entire actress white. Like, I that would have been the way to go. It's the personality stuff that bothers me more than anything. Like, even if you recast a character, at least have them act like themselves. But I love the way Juggernaut was pulled off in that movie. I thought that was amazing. I loved his the fight with him at the end. Like, there's so many things about that movie I like. I didn't like the way Firestarter looked. Like, that was, or not the look, but like handled in general.
Why did he look like he was in a potato sack the whole time?
I think that I don't know. I don't know, because he was still in his prisoner uniform. He never changed out.
I guess,
Yeah.
He looked, looked weird.
Which I like the actor too. I thought he was good in the second Christmas Chronicles. I just did not, or Fire Fist, whatever his name was. I couldn't even remember his name. Even though it's an actual character of the comics, it's a character I never gave a shit about. They picked like the dumbest villain to put in there. So I guess if you're gonna ruin a villain, you might as well pick one that most people don't care about anyway. But I thought the actor was good when he played oh god, I can't remember his name. It was like some Danish Santa Claus name. But he played like Santa Claus's enemy. He used to be an elf of him in the Christmas Chronicles too.
I don't know this actor.
Yeah.
Wait, Fred Savage was in Deadpool 2?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that. Wait.
He was in the there was the Christmas Story version of it. He was telling, it was like he was doing like a Princess Bride thing with him.
Was he Rusty? Wait, was this Rusty Collins? Was that the fire guy?
Was it a fat dude? The little fat kid? I forget his name. Let me look.
Actors. Confused because is it Julian Dennison? Is that a boy or a girl?
Yeah, Julian Dennison's a guy. Bill Snickle, that was his name in the other movie.
Why does he look like a girl?
Oh no, that's just the phenotype. He's Polynesian. He's from New Zealand.
His face looks so weird.
He's also got a lot of weight, so he's just a round person.
Yeah.
He's got like those big lips, like a Polynesian person. It's just the phenotype. You hear his voice immediately, like, oh yeah, that's a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas Chronicles 2?
Yeah, he played Bill Snickle. I was trying to remember his name.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that movie... I love the Christmas Chronicles. It's Kurt Russell. is Santa Claus. I loved both of them. I thought they were fun movies. I thought they were really smart movies because as I was watching the first time, I was complaining about a lot of things, almost like logically and somewhat scientifically. Like I was trying to play by like the movie's logic. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And then all of my complaints were answered by the end of the movie. And I'm like, oh wow, thank you, movie. I actually really like that movie. I think Kurt Russell plays a great Santa Claus. They had his wife in as Mrs. Claus as well in the second one. A wonderful movie. I think it gets the spirit of Santa Claus down. A lot of people weren't too fond of it.
Yeah.
I liked it though.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. But
Mike
yeah,
Walters says Fred Savage provided the voice of Hawk in the Justice League Unlimited.
that's cool. I like Fred Savage. But yeah, Inside Out 2 is also still on the docket. I don't think anybody's going to see that.
That's going to be a disaster. Like the movie, the story is over.
Yeah.
They're just going to be a disaster.
Oh, they're going to make
I like the first one.
lesbian or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably. But even worse, you want to do something that's going to be a high budget disaster that might actually sink the movie? Mufasa, The Lion King, the prequel to The Lion King. That's going to be done in the same highly rendered assets as the live action, quote unquote, Lion King.
Mm-hmm. Highest grossing animated movie in history.
Yeah. And I didn't watch. I didn't go to the theaters for that. You know.
I barely even knew it existed.
And I'm definitely not going to see the sequel.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that's actually probably going to do well, just based on the fact the first one did unbelievably well. I don't know.
Again, I'm gonna say I call into question how well it did. I think that was this was pre-Disney audit. I think there was a lot of inflation done in there from Disney's end to make it look like it did better.
Yeah.
Just
Why can't
all
Disney let the lions
emote? Yeah.
Because they're trying to make them realistic.
I think this is Favreau, who like I have no idea what's going through his head. I think even he's been ruined by the industry. Right? I liked the live action Jungle Book because you saw Mowgli, so he was emoting. Some of the animals were allowed to emote in it, but it felt like the Jungle Book. It fixed some of the pacing problems that I think were the only actual weakness of the original Jungle Book, is that it's not paced very well. Other than that, like the actual performance in it, the animation, all that in the original Jungle Book still holds up today. Like I'll go and watch it. It's just some of the transitions. The movie just moves too slow at parts when it doesn't need. And I'm not even talking about the panning, illustrated establishing shots. I think those should be moving slow. That's fine. There's just parts where it lingers too long where it doesn't need to linger.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also parts where the original just was way better. I thought ultimately Favreau did a good job with the Jungle Book. And the Jungle Book was also sold on the soundtrack being uploaded to YouTube prior to the movie coming out as kind of like a marketing thing. And I thought the song sounded amazing in it.
Mm-hmm.
The Lion King had almost the opposite problem. When they put some of its soundtrack up, and they waited for like the day before the movie came out to put the soundtrack up. Most of the songs sound worse or not even close to on par than the original wonderful composition of The Lion King. And there's like no emotion in the entire movie. And he's like, I want it to look like a nature documentary. Then go and make a nature documentary.
Yeah. How did that make $2 billion?
I don't believe it did. I think the books were cooked.
That makes no sense to me. I mean, I could see like everyone going to see it once, but like 2 million, that had to be people seeing it multiple times. What? I don't know. I haven't seen it once, so I don't know.
Yeah, I watched it after it was out of theaters through back channels. It's not a very good movie.
Mm-hmm.
But they did so many things to like kill
1.6 billion.
Yeah, kill anticipation for it too. Like They said originally that Be Prepared wasn't going to be in the movie. And technically, the song's not in the movie. But enough people complained about it that they made a small allusion to it where he says to be prepared, and they do some stuff. And there's like a very short bit of singing, but it's not the song.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's one of the best songs in the movie. It's like, yeah, but we don't want the goose stepping Nazi imagery. But they're the bad guys. They're allowed to have that imagery.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they didn't have to do exactly that imagery. They could still have the song.
I don't know. I think Disney's lost the plot. Oh, so those are the two big ones. I can't remember if there was anything else that was still on the docket, but apparently most of the MCU stuff is still planning to come out. It's, good for them. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if they bring in a new CEO, all of this could be upended. They could kill projects that are halfway done. They could start new things. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Bring back the Disneys. That's the first step of redemption.
Yeah.
Even if they don't do anything, right? Just have them go to the park.
Yeah.
Maybe once a year. There's like you pay premium price for a meet and greet of the Disney family. Anybody who's still around, doesn't matter, right? Just if the public knows that they're involved, that will do a lot for their image in general, right? It's like a sign of good faith.
Yeah, and as much as I didn't actually finish my one thought about John Lasseter, was that I know he did kind of it didn't do too well. He did that. Yeah. He did that movie Luck, which was only on Apple Plus or whatever.
Yeah.
And I watched it. I thought it was decent. I think if it had been released elsewhere, it might have done better.
Well, Lasseter is a great
people
talent,
like that.
I think they've been trying to get rid of him for a while.
Yeah.
Just because he's part of the old guard.
I guess he's
to a degree.
And apparently he's difficult to work with or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because he has expectations for people.
Yeah. But man, I still watch like the credits. I'll watch right through the credits of Tangled, and John Lasseter's right at the top, and I think that movie cemented his name in my head as like quality Disney movies.
Well, because he was over at like Pixar, and then when Disney started doing 3D animation, obviously they had to take their Pixar talent over there to direct that stuff, and he's been doing good. Like, God, Wreck-It Ralph, I think, is still like one of the best movies to come out within like the 3D era of Disney. It's probably actually it might be the best movie that has come out in the 3D era of Disney. Sadly, they tainted it with that horrible sequel, but the first one still holds up if you ignore that the sequel doesn't exist. Just put it out of your head.
Yeah. Yeah, that movie was weird. Like it's just like with the marketing, I don't know if I didn't think there was something strange about it. Like it didn't seem like a real movie or something like that. But yeah, it obviously is. And I loved it too. It was very odd because it's just very different from all the other movies they'd made.
Yeah. It honestly, and this has been a problem with Disney and Pixar ever since Disney went 3D. And I think Wreck-It Ralph is where it starts because Tangled feels 100% like a 2D Disney movie just done in 3D, right? Frozen still has that feel too. But squeezed in there, you have Wreck-It Ralph, which Wreck-It Ralph feels more like a Pixar movie and even kind of follows the pacing, has those weird themes of like things that normally aren't alive or alive, or things that normally don't have sentience like Bug's Life or whatever. Like it fits the whole Pixar thing. It makes sense because it was heavily a Lasseter project. But now some of the Pixar stuff are starting to feel more like Disney things as well. Like did Inside Out or I think wasn't Elementals, I think was Pixar too. Inside Out still kind of has like that Toy Story thing, but it's emotion, and Elementals kind of is like elements but they have emotions. But Elementals is also kind of very Zootopia, and it's like I can't it's hard to delineate which studio is which anymore. It's like there's no point of having two different studios.
Oh, they've merged, haven't they? Completely? I think so. By this point.
I mean, they probably have talent that's shared between the two. but they still have Pixar movies and Disney animated movies. Like they're under two different studios.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know why
I think
they
it's
shouldn't
weird.
just merge them.
Yeah, at this point. But I thought it was interesting that they marketed Wreck-It Ralph with like a Fix-It Felix Jr. video game on mobile that you could download for free. That was cool.
And this is a big problem with Disney for a long time. Ever since they first bought the MCU, it started moving in this direction. Actually, just throughout the aughts, right? And Disney's kind of lost its identity, right? And I think as a company, where your entire profit is basically your brand, right? Your branding. You have to have a solid identity for your company. And that's kind of like the purpose of keeping these different divisions their own kind of like subsidiaries, so that each one can have its identity. But there's like no difference in the identity between like the style of writing that you get in Marvel, that you get in Disney, that you get in Pixar, that you get in Lucasfilm. You'll have like the same jokes happening. You'll have the same plot progression happening. It's just different characters in different environments. That's the only thing that's like different in these movies anymore.
Yeah. And shoot, that game doesn't exist anymore on the iOS App Store.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Yeah, it wasn't just Marvel. I think it was because it was close to the same time that they got them. It was Marvel and Lucasfilm. Those two things. They bought them within a time frame of each other, and both of those things basically caused them to lose their identity. They lost their brand that way.
Yeah.
I don't think the Muppets was ever a problem because they were really good at keeping the Muppets separate, and the kind of like family nature of the Muppets kind of always fell into the Disney identity anyway, as long as it like that was an issue. But when they started branching off to like Marvel and Lucasfilm, they were starting to go outside of the scope of like what is Disney.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we're out of time.
Yeah, we rambled enough.
I'm getting hungry.
All I can say is buy my shirt. It's still there till the 15th. I think here we go. We got the link right here. It's the Zeba shirt. Go out, get it. Don't miss out, because you will feel like you'll miss out. But thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with somebody else. Grow this audience. And if you really enjoy it, want to go one step beyond, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. If you want to buy the shirt instead, I'll make an exception for you. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye-bye.